So it's been a trip that's been on the calendar, off the calendar, discussed a lot. Not so much the part about, by the way, should President Biden visit Israel. It's what's going to happen in Saudi Arabia later. But he is visiting Israel at a time when the government fell. So you've got kind of this interim prime minister and talk of potential more elections. So you got those issues. You've got Palestinian demands.
They want to reopen the U.S. consulate in East Jerusalem. That was because we moved the embassy to Jerusalem, which serves all of Israelis. But that's not good enough. So they want that reopening of this U.S. consulate in East Jerusalem. They want the reopening of the PLO representation in Washington. They had an office, like a diplomatic outpost. And they want the removal of the PLO from Congress's list of terror organizations. These are the demands from Mahmoud Abbas to the President of the United States as he's about to meet with him.
The only time they would ever do that, Dad, is when they knew they could say it to a president who's so weak,
right.
Even if they don't take any actions, they can puff their chest out and act tough to the United States of America because our president and this current administration is so seen as so weak worldwide. We saw that at NATO. We saw that the summits, at the European summits.
Yep.
Now we're seeing it already play out in the Middle East before he's gotten there.
What self-respecting president of the United States would give him a visit, let alone come here and, to all appearances, throw open the doors, create new diplomatic links with a continued terrorist organization that has refused to really make any kind of peace, come to the table in any serious way? So Israelis are literally perplexed, and I'm getting calls nonstop to try to explain this American administration, because they're saying even if Biden doesn't like Israel, and we don't know if he likes Israel or not, doesn't he care for America? Doesn't he care for America's interests?
There's been a total reshaping in the Middle East, and here's the problem. Rather than building up on the Abraham Accords, which changed the whole dynamic, what you have happening is President Biden's going back to failed policies again. Don't placate the PLO. It has never worked. They are a terrorist organization.
We've reestablished diplomatic ties with the Palestinians that had basically severed under our predecessor. Working with Congress, we've restored approximately $500 million in support for Palestinians, and we've reaffirmed unequivocal U.S. support for a two-state solution, which had come into question over the previous 4 years. And under President Biden's leadership, we helped end a war in Gaza, which easily could have lasted months in just 11 days.
What policies are they talking about?
And not policies that the Palestinians care about either.
I think that's a big part of the problem. They're so out of touch with what's really going on that their statements are not even accurate as to what is taking place on the ground right now.
They have made a demand, and they've said that if Joe Biden's visit fails to meet the demands of the Palestinians, we will take decisions or actions against Israel and the United States.
So now they put these threats in place to the United States saying, hey, if you don't do this, you know what's going to happen here? They're not going to have a security agreement with Israel. Now, here's the problem. If the Palestinian Authority got rid of the security agreement with Israel, let me tell you what happens. Palestinian Authority lasts about, a couple of days because Hamas would take over. Now, Mahmoud Abbas knows this. Now, the question is, does President Biden understand this? Does the administration understand this? And why are they not building up on the Abraham Accords?
Now he's going to Saudi Arabia in the middle of an oil and gas crisis in the U.S., energy crisis in the U.S., trying to say it's about everything but oil and gas.
Right.
It's about security. It's about this. I get that there's other issues they got to talk about, but securing your energy supply is actually one of your top national security issues for any country. And so I think, again, there's going to be a lot of eyes on, does he have the one-on-one with Mohammed bin Salman? Do they show that?
I assume he is going to grovel and beg the Saudis to produce more oil, and it's because the White House has realized they've got a political problem. They spent a year and a half attacking U.S. energy production. They spent a year and a half driving up gas prices, and suddenly they've discovered with an election coming up in November that people don't like paying $5, $6, $7 a gallon for gas. And so the president is reduced to begging the Saudis. He's also begging the Iranians, and he's begging the Venezuelans to produce more gas. He wants everyone to produce oil and gas on planet Earth except for Americans producing American jobs.
We were energy independent 19 months ago. We're totally energy dependent now. We've got the highest inflation in the world, one of the highest inflation points in the world. And I just think that we've got to realize that the fact is that we're in a very dangerous spot right now, politically, economically, and And then you got Mahmoud Abbas's statements, which tells me that the rest of the world recognizes how weak we are, or how weak they perceive us to be, that Mahmoud Abbas could start, issuing demands.
I think Joe Biden's going to roll out the red carpet for the Palestinians on this visit. And he's going to meet, I don't know if he can meet all of their demands because some the executive branch can't do alone, but others he can. And so I get very concerned when you got a very weak president and very liberal advisors who would love to please the Palestinians.